Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Saturday Morning Chats with Tameka, Pretty and Smart. I am Tameka, Pretty and Smart, and as promised, we are going to talk about relationships. Can you relate? Can you communicate your ideas, feelings, wants, and desires effectively to the people around you? Co-workers, friends, family, loved ones, significant others. Can you relate? I want to talk about noise, static. I know you see the plain wall in the back. It's because I'm trying to eliminate static and noise from this conversation. I want you to focus on me and what we're talking about today, which is communication. It is the basis for all types of relationships. Good communication, good relationship. Bad communication, bad relationship. That happens in the workplace, that happens at home, that happens out with friends. You have to be able to communicate your ideas and your feelings in order to create a good relationship. Now, like I said, I wanted to talk about static and noise. And it has been discovered that static and noise are the main culprits in ineffective communication. If you're sitting and you're listening to someone, somebody else walks in, they start talking really loud, that's considered noise. It's considered static because now all of a sudden your attention has shifted to what's going on in the room instead of listening to what the person is saying to you. So I want to talk about the static and the noise that we can control. Specifically, sarcasm. I know some people think sarcasm is some elevated humor thing. You have to be intelligent to create sarcastic comments. You have to be intelligent to understand sarcastic humor. I have found that in this society, maybe in European cultures, sarcasm works well because they're used to using it. Here in the States, however, sarcasm has become a bullying technique. It has become a way to be mean, and hurtful, and to do the opposite of communicate. Because let's look at sarcasm. It's saying the opposite of what you mean. If communication is to convey ideas, thoughts, and opinions, then wouldn't saying the opposite be ineffective? I think so. And it happens a lot in relationships, just maybe a coworker or in romantic relationships. Do you like me? Yeah, I like you. Okay. Do you really like me or were you being sarcastic? Okay, so herein lies the problem. Because the sarcasm has to be defined, obviously it's not effective in communicating ideas. I want us to just control the amount of sarcasm that we use in our relationships and see what difference you feel. I mean, you're going to feel different yourself in just actually saying what you mean. I'm not saying you have to be, stiff and, oh, this is what I want, and not vary from that, not have any kind of creative style in the way you speak. It's quite the contrary. I'm saying take sarcastic humor or sarcasm, whichever way you use it, out of your, communicating skills and see how things change when you actually tell a person, I like you, and they say, I like you back. Can you handle saying, I like you, and them not saying, I like you back? Because I think that is what sarcasm has done. It's given us an opportunity to skirt the big questions, the important issues, the things that really matter. We use sarcasm to kind of test the waters. I'm going to say it sarcastically. If they don't respond the way I want them to respond, then I'll lean on the fact that, oh, I was just being sarcastic. How about let's just say what we mean for this week? From now until next Saturday, when you tune in to hear us talk about the babies, because sarcasm does carry over into our communications with our children. It has literally, okay, if you guys can tell, yeah, sarcasm is not my thing. I can be sarcastic. I can understand sarcastic humor. I just don't think it's effective in communication. I feel that it's hurtful, and I feel that it creates fences and keeps us from bonding and becoming a community of caring people. So we're going to talk about that next Saturday, just to follow up and see how it went with you guys and cutting out the sarcasm in your conversations. I mean, please feel free to leave comments below about your, I guess, interpretation of sarcasm, your opportunities to experiment with eliminating sarcasm, or just, any other kind of things that you noticed about sarcasm in your everyday life. Because I think that it does slip under the radar as a component that keeps us from communicating well. I also, if you were on my Facebook page, you saw that I posted the definition for an excuse. And oftentimes excuses come from outside forces, but there are excuses that come from within. And like I said, we're going to talk about relationships, and this is not just relating to outside people. This is how do you relate to yourself as well. Because I find that if you trust yourself, you generally trust other people. If you like yourself, you generally like other people. And, the same can be true of the negatives. If you don't like yourself, you don't like others. If you don't trust yourself, you don't trust others. So let's talk about excuses. Do you excuse yourself from being successful? Oh, I would have, gotten an A on the paper, but, that's not really my subject. That's an excuse. A reason would be I didn't make a good grade on the paper because I didn't study, because I didn't take it serious. So there's a difference between reasons and excuses. Excuses is a way for us to basically step away from blame in things that clearly are our fault. So do we accept excuses from ourselves? Because if we do, we're more likely to accept excuses from others, and we're more likely to give excuses to each other. If I can give myself an excuse for being successful, I can certainly give you an excuse for not doing something that I said I would do for you. And when these things happen, they impede on our relationships. You see, all of these things are based in relationships. The way you communicate, the way you present yourself, how you feel about yourself is what you're sending out, and it's also what you're getting back. So if you find yourself in relationships where people are always giving you excuses, it's because they've found that excuses work with you. Because either you've used excuses yourself, they've seen you excuse yourself, they've seen you allow other people to give you excuses, and so here comes all the excuses towards you. So when, Michael Jackson had that song, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. There is so much validity to that in relationships, especially in this day and age. And when it comes to communicating, we don't spend enough time understanding ourselves, coming to an understanding of what we want, what it takes for us to get what we want. We don't spend time planning those types of things. And so we find ourselves in these last minute situations where we're having to come up with quick answers. And those quick answers lead us to bad decisions. And those bad decisions oftentimes manifest themselves in our relationships. You know, at work, you don't take enough time to plan how you want to move forward in your career. And so you just take jobs, take, assignments, and you just take them at the last minute because you don't have any plans for it. So someone else gives you a plan, and then you look up and you're in this job that you don't like because you didn't take time to plan. You didn't consult with yourself on what the end result should be. The same thing happens in emotional relationships. We're so afraid that the things that we want to talk about or the things that are important to us will offend or turn off, the person that we're interested in, that we just ignore them completely. We don't talk about children. We don't talk about finance. We don't talk about living arrangements. We don't talk about emotions and stress levels. We don't talk about things that are triggers for us. And I wish that we could escape the crazies, because if you talk to people and ask them, why are you single? Oh, men are crazy. Women are crazy. If you are an African American in the United States, you have a certain level of crazy. It comes from years of oppression. It comes from years of second guessing. It comes from years of fear. It comes from years of overcompensating. All those things are a part of who we are, and it's best that we understand our own set of crazy so that we can communicate that to other people. Say for instance, you're compulsive. You like to do things a certain way every time. And to you, it may seem that this has yielded the most success. If I do it the same way every time, it yields the most success. True. But what happens if someone says, hey, let's try it a new way? Will you try it a new way? Then it's compulsive. You have to do it that way. You're not open to change. And if that's the kind of person you are, then you need to communicate that to the people around you. Listen, I generally get a pattern, and I like to stick to the pattern that makes me comfortable. But we're afraid of people saying, oh, you're crazy, you're OCD, blah, blah, blah. But if we know that about ourselves, that is what we should communicate. And if other people know that about us, then they will be less likely to introduce new ways to do certain things to us, which will in turn decrease stress levels or us feeling anxious because this person is now judging, or this person will judge because this is the fourth thing they've asked me to try and I won't try it. So now they're finding out my brand of crazy. Let's just lead with that. Let's lead with who we are, what we need to make us happy. Let's communicate those things. Let's stop giving ourselves excuses to not succeed. Let's stop giving ourselves excuses to not mean what we say or not say what we mean. Let's just start today, cut back on the sarcasm, have those conversations first with ourselves on what it is that we need to be happy so that we can communicate that to the people around us. So, I don't know. I feel better. I feel like this is definitely a good start to creating better relationships with all the people around us. So I'm glad that you came in and sat with me to chat in this plain white atmosphere. But next week, I promise, we will have good things to do because we're talking about kids. So yeah, the environment will definitely have to be indicative of that. So I look forward to chatting with you. I hope you look forward to chatting with me. Until then, I love you more.